not out. And I love your point about the celebration too. It was quite a humble celebration, wasn't it? Really kind of subtle, modest celebration.
He knows there's still work to do. I said earlier, I thought Canada's really got to push for 200 here. And you look at Bajwa's innings, and he provided decent support for Samra, but he went from the end of the 5th over until the 14th, Bajwa did, without scoring a boundary.
Neesham to Curtin, steps across the leg side. He's been given out LBW, trying to whip it away off his pads, but he's shuffled right across the stumps there. And he's reviewed it straight away. So whether he feels like he's got some bat on that, we'll find out. But he went quite a decent way across the stumps, trying to access the leg side.
Well, one way or another, it's a dot ball. If he gets reprieved here, according to the DRS rules, they ran a single, but he's going to have to go back and stay on strike. It becomes a dead ball as soon as the umpire gives it out. And this was a Yorker. Played around it. He was walking across his stumps trying to flick through the leg side, and he fanned on it, and it hit him on the full. Never hit the pitch. Hit him kind of on the bottom part of the shin guard. And I'd be shocked if this gets overturned. He looked like he was right in front of middle and leg stump.
Unless he's hit it, which he doesn't look like he has on that front replay, then yeah, he looks absolutely, it looks stone dead out, doesn't it?
And this is a case of he's reviewed it because Canada's got 2 reviews left with 10 balls to go. Otherwise, there's no way he would have reviewed this. This is quite obviously out.
Impact in 9, wicket sitting. Thank you. I'll go back to another one, please.
Well, we've seen some bad reviews conversely the other way, Scott, where we've seen some reviews where the associate teams have reviewed it with a ball pitching a foot outside leg stump on not out decisions. This one was hitting the base of middle, ripping out middle stump.
It was, yeah. It was the clue was whether he reviewed it and carried on walking off. Wouldn't be very good at poker.
Maybe he's just trying to buy some time for Yuvraj Samra to catch his breath.
Yeah.
Maybe that it was a tactical review to say, let's just stall here, create a little bit of a diversion so that Yuvraj can get a little bit more drinks being brought out in between wickets and get some electrolytes so that he has energy for the last 9 balls of the innings. Harsh Thakur comes out. But just to go back to that point about Bajwa, Bajwa went 8 overs without a boundary. And there was that collective sequence between both him and Samurai from overs 10 to 12 where they scored 10 runs, all in singles. So 10 runs and 8 dot balls in that sequence. And that could be the reason why, if Canada isn't able to pull off an upset here, they'll look back on that and say, man, we really didn't capitalize there. But you have to give credit to New Zealand there. Those 2 overs on the other side were bookended by McConkey, who got wrecked.
Is Neesham to the new batter, Taka. That's lifted off his hip down towards fine leg. And he gets a single, 161 for 3.
McConkey bowled the 9th, in which Samra hit him for 6, and then he bowled the 13th when Samra went crazy with 2 6s and a 4. So they took on the spin, but that medium pace, Neesham, Duffy, and then Phillips, that one over that Phillips bowled, that was actually off spin, but those 6 singles, you and Kevin both said at the time, 6 singles, I think New Zealand would actually be content with this. And in the context of the whole innings, you bet they're content with that 3 over sequence.
Samra back on strike. 2 balls left, the 19th over. Neesham fires one in full and straight. It's a good Yorker from Neesham. Samra brings his bat down and he jabs it back to the bowler. And there's no addition to the score. Dot ball's priceless at this stage of the game, especially. Staka, the new batter at the non-striker's end. He'll have a quite important part to play, you would think, in the second innings of the match when New Zealand are batting with his off spin.
Highest score in the history of the T20 World Cup is Brendan McCullum, 123 off 72 against Bangladesh in Pally-Kelly in 2012. There's an outside chance here.
108 not out. Can he find a boundary? Final ball of the over. Again, full, just outside off stump from Jimmy Neesham from over the wicket. Oh, and it's misfielded again. He's just squirted away by Shamra off an open face of the bat through backward point. And Phillips, who's been exceptional, really, out in the deep, sweeping up for New Zealand, just fumbling that one. So they come back for 2 to complete the 19th over. 163 4-3 with 6 balls left for Canada.
Really, if they'd been running hard there, they could have got 3. They were kind of, I don't want to say dawdling, but not exactly busting it. And part of that, you might think, Samurai, it's a very hot day. You can see how much the New Zealand players are suffering in the field.
Yeah.
And you wonder how much tax he's had on his body across 19 overs. But New Zealand fortunate that it did wind up as 2, because it means Samurai's going to start this over off strike.
Jacob Duffy balls, and Thacker strikes the ball away and gets a single, so that's worked out okay in the end. That's it's good from Thacker. He needed to just get off strike, didn't he? He needs Samurai to face his, well, ideally now the final 5 balls of this innings. 164 for 3, Canada.
And it would have been a run out if that one hit straight to extra cover in the ring and throw at the non-strikers, and Tucker just kind of gave up and it missed. He would have been up by a good 2-3 yards, but they took on that single because they need to get Samurai on strike, and he's now got 5 balls to go here. On 110, the high score in a T20 World Cup history, 123 by McCollum.
Steps across the stumps, lifts it off his hip, out towards deep backward square leg. He's caught. A juggling catch from Glenn Phillips, but a catch nonetheless for Phillips and for New Zealand. A wicket and obviously a dot ball for them. That'll help their cause potentially. And Samurai departs for a brilliant 110. It's an afternoon he will not forget. Neither will Canada. He's made his mark on this 2026 T20 World Cup, that's for certain. Brilliant innings, 110 and out for the young Canada international.
Slower ball sent down, and it was an off cutter. He got inside the line. He was trying to scoop it over backwards square leg. I don't know if he was trying to aim for that area. Initially, I thought he was trying to go much finer than he did, but Glenn Phillips had deep backward square leg. It's not a place where you typically see Glenn Phillips, your best catching fielder, but it looked like it was perhaps part of the trap set by New Zealand. They wanted him to play that shot there, and we saw Neesham put down a catch 2 overs ago, and Phillips, as sure-handed as he is, he juggled that one. He made that far more adventurous than you would expect Glenn Phillips' effort to be, and was able to hold on in the end, and Samurai subdued walking off.
Well, he shouldn't be, as Erlanger's a new batter. He's swung that away for 6. Well, what a way to get going. I suppose you've little time, really. We've now just 3 balls left of the innings for Canada. But Erlanger's walloped that out towards wide long on. He's got a big beaming smile on his face. He enjoyed that. Duffy sent for 6.
Well, I was very critical of Canada against UAE, the fact that they held Haliger back just for the final ball of the innings. I thought he should have come in earlier with a couple overs to go because he's their best 6-hitter in terms of the tail-enders and low-order bats. But here, instead of sticking to the traditional order, Canada thinking on their feet, sending him in at number 6 as a big 6-hitter, and he showcases why right there, going over wide long on.
170 for 4. Swings this one away again, inside edge this time, past the stumps down towards short fine leg. Scampers through for a single. So Dylan Halinger moves to 7. 171 for 4. 2 balls left for Canada.
Yeah, Samurai, I think he just, again, looked a bit tired, looked exhausted. He'll have time to celebrate more of that century later, and in the annals of not just Canada cricket history, but associate cricket history. But you can tell by how spent he was when he walked off the field, how hot it is there today.
Tucker on strike. Again, Duffy full delivery. Steps across the stumps. Tucker to drive it down the ground for a single. 1 ball left. Can they find a boundary? Well, they've got Halinger on strike for it. Already we've seen what he can do. 172 for 4. With 1 ball left for Canada. They're in the game, aren't they? A scorer in a T20. It might not be enough, who knows? But they've given themselves an opportunity here with this score. Can they try and push it towards that 180? Can they find a 6 off the final ball of their innings? It will be Jacob Duffy for New Zealand. Halinger stands and hits it out towards the offside. It is fielded at deep extra cover. They ran 1. Maybe they could have tried to come back for a second. It was Mitchell throwing in from the deep. But that is the end of the innings for Canada. 20 overs gone. They've finished on 173 for 4.
Let him have his say.
You're not happy, are you, Peter?
Last ball of the innings, why are you not running?
Okay, that's his say. We'll get some medical assistance for him a little later on.
Two new guys in the crease. This isn't Yuvraj Samra, who's been out there for 20 overs. They've just gotten there, Harsh Tucker and Dylan Hager. Why are you not running? It was wide extra cover. They ran one easy, and then they just stopped and looked at each other. Run, run, run!
Not happy with that one, Peter. Kevin?
I'm not too sure there is medical assistance going to help us here at the moment. What I would say, when you talk about the heat, it's a smoggy day. Air quality is very poor. Well, no, let's get this right. It's not very poor, but it's poor. Very poor, obviously, would be worse than this. So let's get this right. 28 degrees there, but the air quality is poor. It's a day of smog. So that, of course, would make life very tricky for the players out there. So we need to perhaps factor that in. But just get over that last bit at the end and tell me, how good's that from Canada, really? I have this seeking feeling that they are going to be 15, 20 runs short here, and we could be hypercritical about those middle 3 overs. But overall, what a day for Canada, surely.
Well, this is a day Yuvraj Samra will never forget. 110 off of 65 balls. An incredible innings, a historic one for Canada, one of the greatest innings in Canadian World Cup history. And again, joins John Davison, the only 2 Canadians to ever hit a century in a World Cup. Davison obviously doing it in the 50-over version, and Samra becomes the first associate player to ever score a century in the T20 World Cup on the men's side. And we talked about that 3-over sequence from overs 10 to 12 where they only scored 10 runs. You have to give credit to New Zealand. Matt Henry and Jimmy Neesham, 8 runs in the 18th, 5 runs and a wicket in the 19th. And that could be huge in the context of the final result.
Here he is, the teenager. What a day.
I told you you were going to make 100 in your first ever World Cup appearance here at this tournament. Would you have believed me?
I manifested this moment since we qualified for a World Cup. Every day, it was just a dream that I want to score 100 in the World Cup. Especially being the youngest player in this World Cup, it's a dream come true.
You hit 110 off just 65 balls. You're named after the great Yuvraj Singh. His highest score ever was only 77, so you've eclipsed the big man himself. How does that sit with you?
It just feels great. It's just like too many emotions going on. Don't know what to really say right now. But like, I just really wish my dad was here today watching me play from back home.
Oh, that's absolutely wonderful. You hit 11 fours and 6 sixes in that inning, so you obviously had the mark of this wicket. What can you tell us about conditions and what worked so well for you today?
The wicket was a bit slow. It's a bit sticking in the wicket. I feel like you just got to pick the balls, which ones. I feel like bowling on this wicket will be key. It's not that easy to bat. Hitting a good length will be key for the bowlers.
For all the young ones, look at you at home. You're only 19 years of age. You produced something extraordinary today. What was the process this morning? Did you do anything different?
Nothing really. Just had a good sleep, and that's about it.
Good sleep indeed. Well, congratulations. You were just incredible today. Best of luck for the next innings.
Thank you.
I really hope that whatever happens in terms of the result here today, that when those that are charged with looking back on the highlights of the tournament and the competition, they make sure that this gets a good prominent position, because it really is a wonderful moment. What a lovely interview as well. And let's also put in the context of it being the 5th highest individual score in a World T20. We mentioned earlier McCullum's 123, Gale's 117, Alex Hales for England 116 not out, Ahmed Shahzad 111 not out, and then in he comes, the teenager. Terrific stuff. So it was 65 balls for the 110, 11 fours and 6 sixes. That really was something special. That's a moment which is great for Associate, but just generally on the world stage, what a great little story that is as well. Brilliant stuff.
And one other point I've emphasized with the USA players, and I want to extremely point out for Yuvraj Samra here, he's the only Canadian-born player in the squad. It's such a huge moment, such an inspiration for a homegrown player, somebody who's come up through Ontario, the under-19 system in Greater Toronto. He's from Brampton, that's part of the Greater Toronto area. And to have somebody who's a homegrown player. So many of these squads in the associate realm, they're often criticized for having too many players who've migrated and come in as expats from first-class cricket in other areas of the world and qualified as passport holders or residents. Yuvraj Samra is born and raised in Canada. He's developed locally, and he will be an inspiration for every Canadian kid going forward who says, hey, maybe I can't identify as much with some of the other players in the World Cup, but if Yuvraj Samra can do it, he's gone through the life experience that I've had growing up in Toronto and the Greater Toronto area. If he can do it, there's hope for me one day.
And as he says, the youngest in the tournament as well. Okay, so, you know, it's all very well. Let's look at that 173 for 4 and say it looks a bit below perhaps where Canada would have wanted to be in terms of New Zealand chasing it down. They will feel they can do it, but they may not. And the implications of that on the tournament, never mind on the individuals, will be something. So more of that to come in a moment or two. But right now, England are through to the Super 8s after a 24-runs victory over a spirited Italy side in Kolkata yesterday. England tested all the way, thankful to another impressive all-round display from Sam Curran, as Ben Manenti and Justin Mosca threatened to take Italy to a shock win. We'll hear from Mosca in a moment, but first Curran reflected on the game with Adam Mountford.
Still not getting our full performance right, but I guess, yeah, we've got the job done now, and we've got a few days to reflect on this kind of last group stage. We've learned a lot, I guess, but now I guess this is our first step, and let's go again.
Is there anything you put it down to, the fact that you're not perhaps as convincing in these victories against these, let's say, smaller teams than perhaps you'd like to be?
Yeah, I guess there's loads of different things. I actually think you look at that kind of group and these type of grounds as well, and the way the guys are striking it, I thought guys like Manenti and their opening batter played really well, and they struck the ball really well, and I guess the wicket was a really good wicket. I guess it's actually just a tricky stage in a World Cup. You're nervous, you've got all kinds of nerves and the expectation, and I guess, yeah, but at the end we can smile, and I guess now we head to Sri Lanka and hopefully get a full performance in.
Is there a danger of being too tentative because of the worry about not doing well against a team England are expected to beat?
Yeah, of course there is. I think there's nerves, and that's normal. We've spoken about that, and I guess that's why we batted first a little bit today. We tried to put runs on the board, and we started really well at the ball, but Italy came back fighting and kept striking the ball really well. Fantastic ground, this place to bat as well. I guess, yeah, I think now we've got our first step, and now we know we come up against the top teams, and hopefully we come all guns blazing and we fire. And we're just pleased to get over the line, and I think we've got a few days now to head to Sri Lanka and plan for whoever is going to be in our group.
Obviously, as you say, on to the Super 8s, and I'm sure that, look, every player wants to find form, but unusual to see people like Phil Salt and Joss Butler not quite hitting their straps at the top of the order. They'll be looking to change that round when it comes to the Super 8s.
Of course, yeah. We've got such a high quality top order, middle order as well, and that's the best thing. Everyone's standing up a little bit at different stages, and like I said, we're a little bit off from our perfect game, so hopefully guys like Salty, Joss, Brookie, and Beth and myself, we can all come off and get those big scores, and I guess, yeah, that's the exciting part. I had a little chat with Morgs before the toss, and I kind of said these are the hardest games because we want to get there so badly, and now we've done it. Now it's kind of like enjoying it. This is our first game, and now we focus on the teams that we know will be in our group.
And you know what it's like to win this tournament. You were player of the series when England last won the T20. Are you having that message across the other players, perhaps newer to the team, to say, look, we're in the Super 8s, now anything can happen?
Well, I think that'll probably be the chat today after this game. We've kind of got that first hurdle done. We definitely have been not fully at our best, but I guess, like I said, you can look at that in a positive. We come off and we've been to Sri Lanka recently as well, so that was fantastic for us to be there, playing in, I guess, Kandy, where we played a lot of cricket as well recently. So I think we're really well prepared, and hopefully now that we've got over this small little hurdle, we've been challenged, and now we can go out there and hopefully make the England fans proud.
Justin, well played personally and well played Italy. You took England pretty close there.
Probably a bit raw at the moment, yeah. As a team that only plays 18 T20s in a calendar year, we definitely did take them close, but I thought we could get there in the end, not to be. But yeah, it was a good game of cricket.
Where do you think you just fell short?
Look, there's probably a few areas, like we probably let a few runs through in the field. I probably got out at the wrong time of the game there when we just got a partnership and probably just got ahead of the game, so that probably hurt us. But all in all, I could have been more proud of a group that's coming in. We had the aim to take it to the English side, who are a very good team, and I think the boys can hold their head up high at the end of that. Because
you must overall, although you're obviously disappointed now, when you step back in a few days, you'll look and think you took double world champions England pretty close in a World Cup game, and what you've done for Italian cricket, showing what you can do. will go down a long way, won't it?
Yeah, you're spot on there. Like, emotions raw, and I think when you're playing any sport, your competitive instincts take over. So when you lose, it's always going to be raw. It doesn't matter the situation. But as you said, when we reflect on the 3 games we've had so far, because we've still got one more, I think we're going to be able to sit there and be very proud of what we have done so far, especially to bounce back after that first game where we were well below our best. To bounce back and to put on these 2 performances, we can definitely hold our heads up high and show that Italian cricket are here to stay, and we've got a lot to offer to this group.
And what are you looking to achieve in the final game? Obviously, a win, but what else are you looking for?
Yeah, to be honest, like you said, that it's pretty simple. Look to win, but I think our goal as a nation and as a very new cricketing nation, it's just to keep putting these good performances on the board, just to show that we're not just one-hit wonders and we're not here to fill gaps. Like we can.
Just in Moscow, they're talking about a Mountford. We have to cut that a little bit short because, once again, they're playing when they feel like it, but which is good because they're getting on with it, I guess. We're about to see the start here of what could turn into a day to remember for everybody, and not just for Yuvraj Samra. Terrific knock. What a day for the teenager. Absolutely amazing. 110 off 65 balls, 11 4 6 sixes. New Zealand need 174 to avoid a shock and a slip-up that we'll be talking about for I don't know how long. They, of course, have the capability, New Zealand, with the bat, but can they do it? A lot riding on it as well in terms of progressing through to the Super 8s of the Men's T20 World Cup. Got Peter Della Penna and Scott Reed to take us through the first 5 overs.
Yeah, can they have a good power play here, I guess, Canada? Can they try and get in and amongst this New Zealand batting lineup in these first 6 overs? And just, well, I mean, they looked a little rattled, in truth, leaving the field, New Zealand. It was a slow walk off the field back towards the pavilion. Here we go, first ball of the reply is actually a single, just tucked away into the onside by safe for 1 run. But yeah, there was a feeling of them being a little bit dishevelled. I mean, on a hot day, a smoggy day as well. One or 2 of the New Zealand boys looked like they were struggling in the field, and a couple of drop chances, obviously being hit for boundaries, and the young man score a brilliant century. They looked a little bit rattled, New Zealand, but I mean, a good start with the bat here, Peter, settles all that down, doesn't it, I guess?
And they're going to get a chance for a good start here because of the fact that I mentioned earlier, Kaleem Sana, Canada's best pace bowler, arguably their best bowler overall, missing today due to injury. I mean, Jaskaran Singh Buttar, who's been Canada's weak link in the bowling unit, instead of being the 5th bowler, he's opening the bowling.
Yeah, into Allen now. Finn Allen will flick that away off his hip down towards the fine leg boundary, and he gets underway. First ball face, he finds a 4.
Right on cue, Scott. The weak link in the attack bowls a ball on the hips, tailing down the leg side. Not much effort required for Finn Allen to just help that past Anish Patel at short fine leg. And again, weak effort at short fine leg. You're not expecting heroic deeds at short fine leg from most fielders in any team, but Anish Patel with, shall we say, a less than inspired effort trying to stop that one from getting past him for 4.
Yeah, it was a bit of a gimme, that really, wasn't it, for Finn Allen? Just to ease it away off his hip down to fine leg. So 5 without loss. Swing and a miss from Finn Allen. In fact, it's wide by Jaskaran. So far wide, it's called a wide, actually. Just swings away from Finn Allen, who went chasing after it. Wide call by the umpire.
For a moment there, I thought he might have toe-edged that.
Yeah, wasn't far away, was he? Didn't look that way anyway. I did quite like, I was reading some of the quotes from Sharma at the interval, and Samra at the interval with that century, asked about by the TV company about the century. And what was the key to his preparations? As Alan waits, defended towards mid-on, through for a quick single. Throw comes in towards the bowler's end. Oh, that's untidy. That might run away, in fact, for 4. Oh, it does. Oh, it's gone for 4. The pick up and throw from mid-wicket towards the bowler's end. It wasn't, nobody was there backing up. And it's gone for, in the end, at the 4 plus the no ball. It's gone for 5, and the score moves on to 12. Goodness, that was really untidy.
That was Village.
Yeah, it was.
I would expect to see that in club cricket. I'm trying to think what didn't happen in that ball that was not Village. We thought it was capped off by the overthrows, and then the cherry on top was the siren going off to signify the no ball.
Yeah.
But it was just poor all around from Canada. And you would think they would come out inspired, looking motivated, looking sharp. And this is just sloppy. Harsh Thakur, the guilty party at cover on the backup. The throw came from Curtin coming across from mid-wicket. He was the one tried the run out of the non-strikers, and there were 3 fielders there on the offside for backup. Harsh Thakur was the one that went through his legs, but no excuse for that to get through.
That was, pretty ugly, really. Seinfeld on strike. That's slapped down the ground for a single, so a dot ball. It's been an untidy opening over the wide. Then, of course, the no ball, then the misfield for the overthrows. Yeah, it's not been a promising start. But it's only the first over of this reply. 12 runs on the board, with New Zealand set a target of 174 to win. Yasker and Singh, little shuffle at the top of his mark, trying to settle maybe a few nerves and a few butterflies in there as well. As he comes in and bowls, and Seinfeld drags the ball away towards the leg side, picked up at mid-on. There's a direct throw towards the stumps at the bowler's end. That gets an encouraging round of applause amongst the Canada players. Finn Allen, who's at the non-striker's end, was a batter being attempted to run out for backing up, but he got himself back just in time.
It was Dhaliwal, the former captain at mid-on, who fired from about 20 yards out, and Finn Allen, very casual, going back to the non-strikers end, but had to suddenly hustle to get the back across line. Got there in the end.
12 without loss, 2 balls left. Tim Seifert on strike here for New Zealand. Oh, well, in the end, Jasker and Singh just pulling away. He's set up quite wide of the crease to bowl, isn't he? But he almost went through his bowling action there, but didn't release the ball. Something didn't quite feel right. He looks back down on the at the pitch on his way back towards his bowling mark, but didn't feel right, so didn't release the ball. 12 for no wicket. Still 2 deliveries remaining of this opening over. And balls again. Step to the leg side, and that's chopped away into the offside by Seifert for a single. He moves on to 2. New Zealand 13 without loss, with 1 delivery to go. Yes, I was reading the comments from Iraj Samra at the interval, and he was asked about his preparations. He said, "I just had a good night's sleep." That was lovely. What a way to prepare for this World Cup. Just a good night's sleep. That's all you need. And then you go and create a bit of history. 13 for no wicket. 1 ball remaining of the first over. It's been a bit hard work, this, for Jasker and Singh, who's in to complete the over. It's a better end than what it started. Single off the final ball from a straight delivery, just pushed up to mid-off, but they've picked up 14 runs from that opening over of their run chase. 14 without loss, target of 174 to win for New Zealand to book their place in the Super 8s.
Well, you wonder were some of his Canada teammates still sleeping when they were asked to take the field, because they didn't have much work to do. Again, Samra was out there for 19-plus overs. I don't know why Canada looked so lethargic at the start of this chase, because more than half the squad had their feet up. They didn't have to do anything. They should have plenty of energy, and yet they look zapped out there with what's going on in that first over based on that evidence. I'm a bit perplexed with the lack of being keyed in, taking the field with a chance to cause a historic upset here after the innings that Yuvraj Samra provided for Canada.
Dylan Hailing to take the New ball from the other end with Allen on strike. Off his back foot into the crease. That's steered away down towards third man. There is a fielder on the boundary at third man. It's quite wide. He's almost deep backward point in truth. And that's steered down towards the boundary for simple 4 in truth for Finn Allen. Score moves on to 18 without loss, and Allen moves on to 14.
Yeah, nothing delivery from Haliger. Width on a length, and it just carved that behind point. Ravinder Paul Singh is on as a sub fielder for Canada right now. He's the one who was given chase at deep backward point, and I believe he's on for Samra. If I'm looking at the field alignment correctly, it looks like Samra is the one who's off the field, and he is the one who deserves a break after the time he spent batting.
He's done his bit for the team, hasn't he? Allen launches this ball high towards the leg side, in the air for some distance and over the rope by many a metre. It's gone for 6. Finn Allen looking rather dangerous here for New Zealand. Concerning for Canada, he's up to 20 from just 5 deliveries. And this is exactly the start that Canada were not hoping for, as New Zealand try and diminish all that enthusiasm that was generated by Canada with the bat. They move on to 24 without loss in the second.
Well, Scott, we were talking off air that Samra joined John Davison as the only 2 Canadians to score a World Cup century. Davison, at the time, a record-setting 67-ball century against West Indies. Well, a lot of people forget about that match against the West Indies.
He's hailing it in balls to Allen. It's defended to mid-on, but he'll take a single. Moves to 21, 25 without loss now.
Is the fact that West Indies chased a target of 203, 204 in a 50-over World Cup match. They only needed 20.3 overs to get there. Everybody remembers John Davison's World Cup century. Most people forget that the West Indies still got there with 29.3 overs to spare, so that kind of got buried in that story, and you wonder, Yuvraj Samra with his century, the way New Zealand are going here, people are going to remember that, but New Zealand look like they're cruising.
Seifeld drives it straight down the ground, so straight actually. It's, was it hit the stumps at the non-striker's end, or did it come off Herlinger's boot? It may have been off the bowler's boot, potentially. I mean, that was absolutely walloped. So if it did catch Dylan Herlinger on his follow-through, he's done well not to break a bone with that. Has it come off the boot? Oh, he did, yeah. You know, with his right boot, almost deflecting the ball onto the stumps at the non-striker end. It would have run Finn Allen out. He was out of his crease. Anyway, that's muscled down the ground by Seifert just for a single. Fielded it mid-off inside the circle. Another dot ball. 25 for no wicket, New Zealand. 1 ball left for the second over.
And even before Samra got that century, I think all of us were talking here about how they really need to be pushing for 190, 200, and 174. The target looks awfully light right now based on the way Allen and Seifert are approaching this power play.
In ball, Seifert swings away high over extra cover. There's no fielders out in the deep there. Will it skip and reach the rope? It hits the turf, and oh, it does. It shouldn't have been. In truth, he's cleared the infield. All the fielders inside the circle on the offside. Again, it hits the ground and hits the grass out towards the extra cover boundary. It should have been stopped. In the end, it just spins away from the fielder and over the rope for 4. And it's an untidy start, in truth, by Canada in the field. We've had 2 overs of this reply, and New Zealand are 29 without loss.
Shivam Sharma, the guy running back from extra cover, got his hands to it. Fresh legs, playing his first match of the tournament, coming in for Kaleem Sana. Fresh legs, but butterfingers on that one, because he reached down after doing all the hard work with his legs, and 2 yards before the rope, it just went through inexplicably. Scott, I don't know what happened here. We're chuckling here. It was a straightforward 2 that should have been dragged back, and instead it just slips through his fingers for 4.
Yeah, his fingertips may have just been caressing the grass a little bit, but not much of the ball. Yeah, it's been a sloppy start, hasn't it, in the field? You think on the back of such energy that they would have generated with the performance from their young opening batter with that brilliant century, but we've not managed to match it in the field. Some spin here as Zafar comes in and bowls from around the wicket, wept away by Finn Allen off his hip down to short fine leg for a single. We got to 30 here of New Zealand as we start the third over of this latest match in this year's ICC Men's T20 World Cup across BBC Sounds, the ICC app and the ABC as well, where Canada have set New Zealand 174 to win. Shuffling away to the leg side is Finn Allen. Can he find a gap through the offside? He can't. It's pretty well guarded is the offside field inside the circle. 5 fielders there in the ring for Canada, and Allen couldn't. Sorry, Seifert couldn't find a way through. He goes on the reverse this time. And again, bouncing towards cover, but for no run. There's a couple of dot balls here. Said bin Zafar coming into the attack in the third over. Captain mentioned how important spin could be as this game goes on. It's driven away, heading towards the offside, and caught at mid-off. And Tim Seifert departs for 6. Well, Canada needed a little bit of something from somewhere in this power play, having made a sloppy start in the field. But Zafar's come into the attack, and Seifert drives to mid-off, and he departs. 30 for 1 in the third over.
Well, as good as Finn Allen has looked at one side, Seifert was really scratching around out there. He tried to go to that reverse on the shot before to try and break the shackles, and picked out the fielder at cover. And this time, what was really a leg stump half volley, if he had stayed planted in his normal position. Instead, he backed away. He premeditated backing away outside leg stump to a ball that would have been on the pads in a normal position, and he was trying to go inside out. More over extra cover, it looked like. Instead, he hit it much straighter, picked out Jaskaran Singh Butser on the ring at mid-off, and a thigh-height catch just went to him very flat and taken very comfortably at mid-off. So wicket to Saad bin Zafar, Canada's all-time leading wicket taker in T20I cricket. Former captain, now has 76 wickets in T20Is when universal T20I status was applied to associates in 2019. He's been part of this Canada squad since 2008. He's the longest tenured player in this Canada squad. He's been there for 18 years now, and it makes a very key breakthrough.
Need a couple more, don't they, really, in this power play if they can. Rachin Ravindra, the left-hander, the new batter. It's driven firmly to mid-off for no run. Good first over this, though, by Zafar, who's found the breakthrough, but he's only gone for 1 run, which is playing a miss from Ravindra, and taken by the keeper. Well, that is exactly the over that Canada needed just to try and get themselves back into this contest with the ball here. And say bin Zafar has sent down 6 very, very good balls there. 3 overs gone, New Zealand 30 for 1 with a target of 174.
After the carnage against Jaskaran Singh and Dylan Halegar, wicket maiden for Saad bin Zafar. What an over indeed. Just the leg by, coming as the only run in the over, but gets the wicket of Tim Seifert, and most importantly, he kept Finn Allen off strike.
Yes, I'm sure he enjoyed seeing Finn Allen at the non-striker's end for that over. He has been the dominant player early on here for New Zealand. Tim Seifert couldn't really get going. It was a bit of a scratchy start, but Allen has looked in fine fettle. Halegar in. That's a leading edge. It loops up into the offside. Has he taken the catch? He has. Brilliant catch. And Finn Allen can't quite believe it's carried. New Zealand lose their 2nd wicket. They will check this to see if the catch has been taken cleanly. There was a look of slight disbelief on the face of Finn Allen.
Well, I think he's in disbelief because it went to, if I'm looking at it correctly, Shivam Sharma, the guy who had the incredibly sloppy fumble at the boundary just moments earlier. It is Shivam Sharma who, leading edge, floated to extra cover from Finn Allen, and he's probably thinking to himself, man, this guy couldn't grasp the ball properly just 5 minutes ago, and suddenly he's taking a blinder at extra cover. This was not in the air for very long. Just looped up, and Sharma didn't have much time to come off the ring, but he's charged forward, and I have no idea why Finn Allen is standing there. I mean, this is...
It's a clean catch, clearly, isn't it?
Quite obviously, he took it diving forward at about shin height. This was not a shoestring catch. It was comfortably above ground, and Finn Allen, I think, again, Scott, he's probably thinking, of all the guys I could pick out, how did Shivam Sharma take that catch?
It was a terrific leaping catch, leaping forward, both hands underneath the ball. As Peter said, about shin high. It's a decent way off the ground. There's no need to double check that on the replay. And well, Canada having to find a way in this power play to put a few jitters in the New Zealand batting lineup. Well, they've picked up the two opening batters. The leading edge, it was Finn Allen shaping to work it to mid-wicket, and it ballooned off a thick leading edge. Great catch. So 30 for 2, Glenn Phillips, a new batter. And Haley in and bowls, and that's jabbed away into the offside by Phillips. And he's off the mark straight away. 31 for 2.
I wonder right about now if Rashid Khan is phoning up some maple syrup companies to offer an endorsement if Canada can somehow get an upset here, because the biggest beneficiary would be Afghanistan. They looked buried in terms of their Super 8 hopes after losing to both South Africa and New Zealand. But if New Zealand loses here, they'll end the group. This is their last match. They'll end on 4 points, and Afghanistan would be very much alive because their net run rate deficit is not all that steep to overcome heading into their last match.
Ravindra on strike, full and wide, handsomely driven by the left-hander. Fielder inside the circle at cover, and there's no run. Canada against Afghanistan, isn't it? I think in the final game. So if it came down to that, it would be if Canada were to win this match, it would be a Canada side full of confidence against an Afghanistan side who were backing with a chance of qualifying. Elinga bowls down the leg side, and Ravindra tries to help it on its way. Doesn't make any contact. The umpire does call the wide. 32 for 2 in the 4th over.
How amazing would that be if Canada loses to UAE and then somehow comes back to end the group with wins over both New Zealand and Afghanistan to reach the Super 8s? Because again, they're technically not out of it.
No,
although
they'd have to win both, don't they? Elinga into Ravindra. It's carved away into the offside for a single. 33 for 2 in the 4th.
They'd have to win both and by some margin. Because their net run rate also, as the other factor, is so far behind Afghanistan and New Zealand. But Afghanistan, imagine Afghanistan, they could be looking at this match saying, thank you, Canada, for doing us a favor. And by the way, we're looking to smash you when we face you in our final match.
In the here and now, Canada potentially are eyeing up something special, but there's a lot of batting to come here for New Zealand. That's pulled away towards the leg side by Phillips, and Curtin out on the deep square leg boundaries there to field for Canada. Phillips moves to 2, 34 for 2, with 1 ball remaining of the 4th over. Phillips and Ravindra just trying to settle things down again for New Zealand, who have looked a little rattled through the course the last couple of hours, really. Certainly did as they left the field.
Here's another thing to think about, Scott. Abhishek Sharma, #1 ranked batter in the world.
Elinga bowls and driven away by Ravindra to mid-on for a single to complete the 4th over, 35 for 2.
No runs in 2 matches for India. Yuvraj Samra has got a century. the saying of cricket's a funny game, I don't think it could be any funnier than that.
Well, it's an amazing game for things like that, isn't it? For leveling the playing field for stories that you wouldn't quite expect to materialize. It's a game full of subplots, isn't it? And you get those little quirky things that flash up from time to time. 2 overs remaining of the power play. 35 for 2, New Zealand. Pins are 5, bowled 1 over, picked up 1 wicket and didn't concede a run. He's out of the attack. The captain's into the attack. Bajwa in from around the wicket. And Ravindra drives away to cover. And there's no run.
Yeah, this is purely a matchup play. Bajwa bringing himself on as an off spinner to bowl to a left-hander. And the captain, you know, he's had some strange things he's done through this tournament. And now he's adding to that list, overstepping for a no ball and a free hit coming up to Ravindra.
And in bowls, and Ravindra drives away, partially stopped at mid-off. He'll have to go chasing back after the ball towards the boundary rope. Just catch up with it. They've come back for 2, so not too costly in the end. And no ball from the off spinner. Oh, look at that. And he's overstepped a decent way as well there. Well, maybe a bit of adrenaline pumping. I don't know. I'm making excuses for him here, aren't I? It's Bajwa in, balls once more. Swept by Ravindra out towards the leg side. Just be a single. Moves to 5. New Zealand now 39 for 2 in the 5th.
I think he's praying. He's going for the sucker ball in this over, Scott, it looks like to me, because he's got Nicholas Curtin out of deep mid-wicket. He's just asking Ratchin Ravindra, please play that slog sweep and get it high enough that it carries to Nicholas Curtin, but not so high that it goes over his head at deep mid-wicket. That seems to be the ploy here.
So no ball, and then a 2, and then a single so far in this over for Dilpreet Bajwa. He's in and bowling to Glenn Phillips. Gets a little thin under edge on that as he looks to try and sweep it. It's been called a wide.
I'm with you, Scott. I thought he hit that.
I thought he did, yeah, but clearly not. So the wide called. Score moves on to 41 for 2. 2 balls into the 5th over. It's been a bit of a mixed back again, isn't it, by Dilpreet Bajwa. No ball, now the wide. Ravindra drives handsomely away. That'll be 4. Nothing wrong with that shot. He's found a gap between wide mid-off and extra cover. And that pushes New Zealand on to 45 for 2 now in the 5th.
Another bizarre part of Bajwa bowling, this has been throughout this tournament, he came into this tournament having bowled a total of 3 overs in his entire career in 18 matches.
He's into Ravindra from around the wicket, and that's carved away and stopped inside the fielding circle. No run.
Harsh Thakur, who's an all-rounder, 39 wickets in 53 matches for Canada, hasn't bowled a single ball in this tournament.
That's Bajwa. Bowls again, muscled out towards the leg side, on the sweep by Ravindra, timed beautifully. Mid-on, diving away to the left, can't stop it. 4 more for New Zealand. 1 ball left of the 5th over, 49 for 2 now.
And he did pull out that slog sweep, but didn't pick out Curtin. He got it much straighter than I think Bajwa would have wanted, and he beats mid-on the ring, and it goes to the rope. But as far as we know, Harsh Thakur's not injured.
As Bajwa in, balls worked way off the pads by Ravindra. Through square leg for 1 run to bring up the 50 for New Zealand. That's 5 overs gone as well in this run chase. They have been set a target of 174 to win. Interesting start. A couple of wickets have fallen. A little bit of a counter attack here by these 2 batters. And maybe evenly balanced at this stage. 50 for 2 after 5. Here's Kevin.
Well, you know, the pragmatic reality may well be at the end of the game that New Zealand have beaten Canada and they've progressed to the Super 8s, but that is not what I will be leaving thinking of. Yuvraj Samras, 110 of 65 balls, 11 for 6 sixes. Vancouver Knights, Peter, he has played for. Surely to goodness, somebody somewhere is going to be finding out his telephone number. One would hope, because just on the evidence of that, I mean, he's 19 years of age as well. That's a special talent there. It
Well,
really is.
at the very least, you'd hope he gets a crack in Major League Cricket south of the border or in the Caribbean Premier League if you're looking at regional franchise competitions.
Ravindra's on 14. Daskara is in and bowling, and that is a dot ball just turned round the corner. Jaskaran Singh bowled one over, went for 14 runs. Now back for a second. The fielding has got to improve a little, although it was a very good catch, which removed Finn Allen.
Probably the most surprising thing to me right now is not that Yuvraj Samra scored a century today.
Ravindra's on 14. Next ball bowled, shorter, and that's been helped on its way up and over the top. Down there at third, and that's a 6. Ravindra tucking in here now. 118 from 88 balls needed. The 2 wickets have lost. Both openers have gone, Seifert and Allen. But there is so much batting here and on the pitch, which is good. I mean, we heard earlier, of course, that perhaps the ball was sticking a little. Well, I'm not too sure about that because, from my eye, there are runs to be scored out here. And they've got off to a really good start. They've lost a couple of wickets, but 56 on the board in the run chase. Ravindra's on 20. Slower ball, that's better. That's what New Zealand did well. Took the pace off and a bit of width for Ravindra to work with to move to 21.
The most surprising thing for me, Kevin, is at the start of that over, New Zealand's win probability was only 67%, which I feel is awfully generous to Canada when you consider the caliber of New Zealand's batting and the lack of pedigree in Canada's bowling. Again, they're playing without Kaleem Sana today, their best bowler. And as good as Samra's innings was, we've talked about it repeatedly, we think it's an under par total.
Phillips is on 2. He's only faced 2 balls. This is his third, and he will find runs. A run, 2 runs. Should be 2, I imagine. They come back for a second, so he moves to 4. 59 for 2. 2 balls left to the 6th. I don't know to what extent the information gets put in to the machine to come up with the win probability. I mean, I suppose it has to have some information in there about, you know, the level of opposition that you're facing, but a lot of it will be based on the match itself and what we've seen in the innings, I guess.
This to me seems like a chat GPT version of win probability, that calculation.
Okay.
I don't know how they came up with that. It doesn't seem very genuine.
And this is a shorter ball which Phillips pulls away through square leg for a single, so 60 for 2.
It's very clear that a human did not come up with that calculation because it's purely based on numbers and not the actual facts on the ground. Again, Canada, you know, these calculations are mostly derived from historical references rather than, to your point, Kevin, the actual context of the match on the day itself. And Canada's bowling attack is not suited to defending this kind of total. They're going to need some miscues from New Zealand.
Jaskaran Singh into Ravindra. A push, looking for a single. Can't really see what's going on, and a chance, half a chance, finding himself too far out of his ground to turn around and get back in. So the power play is completed, and it's 6 overs, 60 for 2, so it's 114 from 84 balls. Tim Seifert has gone for 6. Finn Allen has gone for 21. So let's just remind ourselves of this group, because if New Zealand win, they will qualify along with South Africa for the Super 8s. Peter did a very good job, actually, just a few overs ago of saying just if New Zealand were to mess up here and Canada were to get a victory, it's Afghanistan that will likely benefit most from it, because if they were to beat Canada on Thursday, they would move to 4 points, and with the net run rate, cause all sorts of aggravation there at the top of this table. It was supposed to, well, it was called the Group of Death. It would be quite fitting, actually, if the group were to end in that sort of fashion. It would genuinely deserve the title of the Group of Death, should Afghanistan get through like that. But, you know, Canada, it's their run rate which is not great. They too, of course, if they would beat New Zealand, Afghanistan, they too would end up on 4 points. But New Zealand win. If we were wanting life to be kept simple, Peter, New Zealand win, and they would go through along with South Africa. So that is Group D matches. We've got South Africa, UAE on Wednesday, Afghanistan versus Canada on Thursday. I want to turn, if I got time, or they're going to get back out there, I want to turn attention, in case we run out of time later, to Group A, because the Group A matches to come, with India on 6 points at the moment, played 3. USA have played through, they've played 4 on 4. So the matches are Pakistan versus Namibia, and India versus Netherlands. Both those matches are played tomorrow. USA have got a very decent run rate going there. What about Pakistan against Namibia? Namibia have played 3, lost 3. You're looking at Pakistan surely winning that one, and again settling everything well.
You never know, based on what we're seeing here today.
Bring it to me, my friend Peter. Bring it to me. Come on.
Gerhard Erasmus, the captain for Namibia, has had a quiet tournament. He's due for some runs. You never know what he could produce. And basically, USA is the one in the best position to advance in terms of being the beneficiary of an upset. If Namibia can beat Pakistan, USA's net run rate is already above Pakistan. Pakistan obviously cannot improve with the loss. So a Namibia upset would mean USA stays above Pakistan. Netherlands' net run rate is so poor compared to USA, they have more than a 2-point deficit. They would need to beat India by 150 runs.
Phillips is on 5. Zafar to bowl this second over, and concedes off the bat the first runs of his bowling today onto the onside. The score moves to 61 for 2.
Technically speaking, mathematically, quote, quote, Netherlands is still alive. They could also finish equal to Pakistan and USA, equal on 2 points. But their net run rate is so horrendous because of that lopsided loss they had to USA. They would need to beat India by approximately 150 runs in order to pass USA on net run rate. So essentially, USA is the only one alive in terms of the 3 associates for a possible chance of going to the Super 8s.
Ravindra on 21, just wide of the off stump and dabbed into the ground, and goes far enough to allow them to go through for 1.
So in theory, you could look at it on paper and say, well, if Netherlands upsets India, they could go to the Super 8s too. They're still in the chance. Realistically, no, because their tiebreaker is so poor compared to USA. USA is the one with a shot.
Zafar to Phillips, gets down on one knee, tries to sweep that. It's a wide, lakeside wide. 63 for 2 it remains.
But yeah, if Namibia upsets Pakistan, USA would be the team that goes through with India to the Super 8s.
Down on one knee and sweeps brilliantly. Brilliantly, that's a 4. Down through fine leg. Lovely shot there from Glenn Phillips. He moves to 10. New Zealand to 67 for 2 in the 7th over.
2 straight on the pads. Outside leg stump by Zafar. He's got to do a better job getting it outside off stump to the right-hander Phillips, and that sweep powerfully beats the final leg fielder and goes to the rope.
Group C is all sorted in terms of progress. It's West Indies and England we're going to go through from that group, but turn our attention to Group B in a moment. Phillips is on 10, sits up nicely and played with some strength, but all along the ground by Phillips. He moves to 14, 71 for 2.
Well, this time he got the line right, Zafar. He got it outside off stump. The problem was length. He dropped the length way too short, and Phillips just rocked onto the back foot and just slapped that in the gap between extra cover, and the cover sweeper was way too square to have any chance to cut that off.
Zafar conceded 2 fours. That won't be a 4, that's just a single for Phillips on the leg side. Behind square, so 72 for 2. 1 ball left of the 7th. So we'll let Zafar bowl this. We'll be gracious enough to do that before we go through Group B, because we have matches or a match at least in Group B today. Comes up after this one. Ravindra on 22, and driven by Ravindra on the onside up to, on the onside as meaning the offside up to long off. So a more expensive over, to say the least, from Zafar. And 1 for 13 is 2 overs now. 73 for 2 the score. So we have in Group B, coming up later, Ireland versus Zimbabwe. It is the first of 2 opportunities for Zimbabwe to join Sri Lanka in going through from that group. And if they were to either beat Ireland today or Sri Lanka themselves on Thursday, it is Australia that would be out. Ireland still mathematically. Australia, they're currently third, having lost 2 of their 3 games, and they could be going home early. That was quite an incredible game yesterday in Pallekele. It really was. Bajwa back on bowls and square on the offside. Ravindra will get a single. He moves to 24, 74 for 2 in the 8th over. Oman sitting at the bottom there. Played 3, lost 3. So I think we've been through all the matches. I mean, the match is still to come in Group C. Scotland versus Nepal, which is later on today, and also the West Indies versus Italy in Group C. I think we've been through all the matches then, haven't we? Still to come over the last few days of the group stage before the Super 8s. That's full and driven and fielded there at extra cover. So a dot ball. It's exactly 100 more needed by New Zealand. And this third wicket partnership of 44 off 29, looking quite settled here. Goes high over the offside, and that's a 6. Looks to be so little effort, all in the timing from Phillips, that one. I mean, to look at the shot and what he put into it, you think, well, has he got enough on that? Oh, he has. Beautifully timed, sweetly timed. Fairly straight as well for a 6.
I've said it before today. I've said it earlier in this broadcast. I've said it in previous matches. I'm struggling to understand why Dilpreet Bajwa continues to bowl himself rather than use Harsh Thakur.
21 width for Phillips to move his score to 22. He looks a little annoyed with that bit of width. He perhaps thought he could have just put a bit more muscle into that and got it away for maybe a 4 or a 6, but they're looking settled enough here. Nerves just starting to be becalmed for New Zealand. Bajwa bowls and whipped away leg side by Phillips. Push for 1, go back for 2. And it's been an interesting day for New Zealand, but the win predicted now up at 72%. I think I would have been, you said if a human would have done that at the halfway mark, bearing in mind what Canada had in their bowling. Ravindra on 26, Bajwa bowls onto the onside. Ravindra with 1, moves to 27, then 84 for 2 after 8 overs. And I'm trying to do this without hindsight and all that good stuff. Just to keep it simple, I would have gone 75%, and that would have had a little bit still of my romantic heart looking at it all, thinking, could we have a shock on today? It just did look the sort of pitch and surface where you needed on this occasion to get up around the 200 mark. But I don't really want too much to be taken away from that knock from Yuvraj Samra. He did really well, but there was just that little period, wasn't there, that 3-over period, which could have made, well, it would have made a big difference. If they'd been chasing 200, just psychologically, that would have been in the minds of New Zealand. They, again, because of the power and the strength of their batting, they would have backed themselves. But they would have known they did a fairly decent job, certainly in one period of holding Canada back. And for his first ball of the day, and that's a well, I thought it was going to be a 4, but now there is somebody there coming around, sweeping to his left-hand side. The straight boundary, so it's a single, 85 for 2 in the 9th over, so 89 from 71. It's all looking okay from a New Zealand point of view. Canada, can they mix it up with a couple of wickets? They need to be taken fairly quickly. Required rate is 7.52. They're going long at over 10s at the moment. Big ask this of Canada in the field. They need wickets. It's clearly it's wickets. That's what they need. And now this has gone aerial and straight again, and that's another 6. Rattling along now, New Zealand. Both these batters are on 28. Phillips, I think, has got to his of just 12 balls. 91 for 2 in the 9th.
You used the word effortless earlier, Kevin. I mean, he didn't even look like he tapped this. Suddenly it's gone into the sight screen.
Yeah. 3rd ball of this over. Spin. Oh, now that's a better delivery. Almost loses his balance as well, does Phillips there. Span away from him. That gives him something to think about. That'll give you something to think about, just standing there and just tapping it for 6.
Well,
and was it? His foot was up back in the...
I don't want to say that's a chance. His foot was fractionally out, but yeah. I think by the time the keeper would have had it, was back in.
Patel bowls and sits up to be pulled from fairly wide of the off stump onto the onside to Curtin fielding at mid-wicket. So a single for Phillips, 92 for 2 in the 9th.
We'll never know, Kevin, because Shreyas Mova didn't...
No. Oh, don't sound so despondent. Please, I mean, it's been a good game. I've enjoyed it.
But the sloppiness of Canada in the field, again, the lack of crispness. You would have thought they'd be amped up. They'd be...
Anj Patel in, and that's pulled away through mid-wicket. Ravindra will move his score on to 29. Both of them in a little race here, these two. Keeping up with one another at the moment.
There's something to keep an eye on. Glenn Phillips on the previous shot, he clutched at his hip.
Oh, he did as well.
So he's a bit gimpy now between the wickets. They should have probably ran 2 on that last ball, but they settled for 1.
Good spot, that. Still able to carry on, though, and just steer the ball, but for no run behind square on the offside. So both Ravindra and Phillips on 29. There's going to be some medical assistance brought out for Glenn Phillips. So it's 81 from 66 balls here. You know, one of the takes that I'm going to take, surprisingly enough, from this tournament and working on it with you, Peter, is that, you know, there can be little that feels more critical than you using the word sloppiness, because it really digs deep. If you're saying somebody's sloppy, you really mean it, and they have been, in all seriousness, and that's a shame. And surely that's an element of their game that they've. I always think the sides have so little excuse and reason. You know, you can't say that's the quality of the opposition that bring that sort of sloppiness to your fielding.
Nothing drives me crazier from an associate perspective than seeing the substandard nature of some of the fielding. You can criticize them for being behind from a skills standpoint when it comes to batting and bowling. They don't have the depth of player pool. They don't get the exposure to test themselves from a skill standpoint, batting and bowling. They have zero excuse to be deficient in fielding. It's the one area that they can correct, and they always fall short.
Okay, start of the 10th over. And there'll be a run immediately off it. Shivam is bowling. And the score to 94 for 2. Can we see a shock here? Well, at the moment, I'm afraid the brutal truth is no. 2 wickets. They lost the first 2 quite close together. It happens. Lose a couple of successive wickets here, but they need to be taken very, very quickly. Phillips is on 29. Shivam with his spin. And he's lifted that away, and with some brutal force this time for a big 6 over mid-wicket. This is Phillips at his best, despite the fact that he's got a little bit of something there in the hip area, which is causing him a little discomfort. Otherwise, as he brings up the New Zealand 100, he looks to be having a whale of a time out there. Loving it.
Well, maybe he's decided, Kevin, my hip's hurting me. I don't want to run too much between the wickets. I'm just going to start hitting more 6s. And this one, high and deep, 20 rows back over a wide, long on.
74 from 64, width, too much width. That should be signalled a wide, and it is. So one more to New Zealand, like they need those. They're going along quite nicely without the extras, but anyway, 101 for 2. 4 balls left of the 10th. And next ball bowled, and that's not too far away from the off stump. Enough room for Phillips to steer that down towards the boundary, and it is pulled back in. Good running, chasing. Did he get a foot on it? On that sponge, I think he pulled that in successfully, so I think that is a boundary saved.
And yet, they still run 3. And it just shows you, even not 100%, Glenn Phillips is able to run fast enough to get 3. Good effort from Anj Patel, running back from short third, to drag that back. And the backup fielder was a little bit tardy coming back to help him out. And that opened the door for the 3rd run.
104 for 2, midway through the 10th over, round the wicket and on the leg stump, helped out by Ravindra for a single. Which is worse, sloppy or tardy? I don't know. Tardy, I think, is. I go sloppy is the bit more critical. If you're tardy.
Delinquent? Should I drop in?
No, I think that's still. Look, for the stage that was set by Yuvraj Summer, I don't want you going there today. Don't want you going there at all. No. 105 for 2. Chopped down into the ground by Phillips with 1 ball left of the 10th over. 69 from 61.
That wasn't delinquent. That was delightful, that innings.
Oh, nice.
Yes.
Yeah, like what you did there. The dot ball. Can they finish off with a dot or a W for wicket? But no, it's going to be O for 1. S for single. 106 for 2. 13 runs coming from Shivan's bowling there. Ravindra 31. Phillips on 39. 106 for 2. 10 over 68 from 60 balls. Peter can take a well-earned break and rest. Last time he went off, there was around that sort of period where Canada sort of lost the way. I know Peter's given a bit of credit there to New Zealand for their bowling. I just wonder if there was an element of Canada not really knowing what to do, having sort of got to the position they were in and realising that, that there was an opportunity to have really put some pressure upon New Zealand. They've certainly made it interesting, and it's certainly given New Zealand plenty to think about. However, at the moment, they do appear to be on top.
Yes, and the win probability is at 95% for New Zealand, which probably reflects about right, as Phillips goes again down the ground, and all the way for 6, taking on Anj Patel. And a powerful hit straight over the bowler's head. Takes New Zealand to 112 for 2, and Glenn Phillips now to 45 not out. He's faced 20 deliveries, but these two have done, well, probably the job that Canada feared they might do, which is at 30 for 2 in the 4th over. Just extinguish any kind of sense of jeopardy from a Canada point of view. Driven away by Phillips. For a single, he moves to 46. New Zealand 113 for 2. In the 11th over, it brings Ravindra back on strike. So yeah, very, very job well done by Glenn Phillips and Rachin Ravindra to this point. 30 for 2 to 113 for 2. And chin balls, step to the leg side by Ravindra, and that's pulled out towards the wide long on boundary for a single. Takes him to 32 not out, 14 for 2. Brings Phillips on strike, so he's a hit away from 50. He's faced just 21 balls for his 46. 2 4s and 4 6s for Phillips, who's been strong down the ground. And that's muscled out towards the leg, so that's 6 more. I think it may be caught in the crowd. A fine catch if it was. It's a 6 to bring up 50 for Glenn Phillips. It's been a really powerful innings, this. That's his 5th 6 in a score of 52 not out from just 22 deliveries. It's also a partnership now which has moved up to 90 between these two. 120 for 2. Good work from Phillips.
They've taken down
Patel bowls, driven through mid-off for 1 run.
Phillips and other New Zealand batters have taken down, full member bowling attacks with some strength and aplomb. So this is really difficult for Canada. But just looking at the bowling as well, maybe that's on offer here. We say the 200. With this bowling, you might have needed even more on top of that.
Final ball of the over as Ravindra advances down the pitch to Anj Patel. Let's play back towards the left arm spinner. End of the 11th over. A couple of sixes in there for Glenn Phillips. So 11 overs gone. Target is 174 in New Zealand. Have it all under control at the minute. 121 for 2.
Yep. But what we saw a little earlier has cheered me.
It was great.
Because I was feeling a little despondent for Canada. Likewise for Oman, a little. But they've put on a good show. So Group B, Ireland versus Zimbabwe coming up. Ireland not mathematically out of it, but Zimbabwe could put pay to all of that in Kandy with our next game, which starts local time. It's 3 o'clock. GMT, UK time, it's 9:30. Because if Zimbabwe win that one, they will join Sri Lanka in the next stage. And we always have to put this open bracket, close bracket.
Close bracket.
Australia out.
Ooh. That would be underlined and in bold. I
Well,
think,
exactly. It might not be an open bracket, closed bracket. It might be headline. It might be all capital letters. Phillips on 53 has brought up his half century with that previous shot. He will add to it now behind square on the offside. A little bit of a fumble there, but nothing too disastrous. But it could very nearly have been onto the rope. Phillips, you know, is not looking at all well again, but I'm not going food poisoning here. I'm going maybe a little bit of heat because it is hot, but I'm also going that hip.
The hip,
and I mean he's carrying on, so he should be fine. That shouldn't be hopefully a problem that he'll be able to get over and won't cause problems further on into the tournament for him. And Hillinger will have to go running after the ball as he picked it up to shy of his own bowling. At the non-striker's end, he missed, and there was nobody there to back that up, so he had to go scampering off himself to retrieve the ball, and he does. Not a run to come from it. Hillinger in again, and Phillips will find a single to long on. Moves to 56, so it's 50 off 51 balls here. Cruising along at the moment, and it will be a story of a comfortable victory for New Zealand, no doubt. But as I mentioned at the halfway point, when looking back at the tournament and all the people who do the highlights and things like that, I'd really hope that they don't forget to include and give some prominence to that Yuvraj Samra 110. He's put himself, you know, up there in the top 5 individual runs scored. Oh, that's beaten the fielder who stumbled his way around trying to cut that off. It's another 4 through long off. Ravindra this time seizing upon a ball that was there to be struck and well timed all the way to the boundary. Racing along, as I say, at 200, you might have thought was a target that Canada should have set, but even then, I think we would have seen New Zealand comfortably get to whatever they were set here, to be honest, against this attack. It's not the best, but that's where the experience, that's where the games need to be played in between the World Cups, to give the bowlers experience, never mind the batters, give everybody a chance of playing some higher quality cricket. 130 for 2, got 1 ball left of the 12th over. And I will have to bring Peter back in to join Scott, because they're moving along at such a rate that I may need to disappear and find some extra things to do between now and the next game. But anyway, 1 ball left to the 12th over. Ravindra's on 38. Hillinger bowls, and that is a wide. Well, you're speaking off, Mike. Put everything on it, and unless it was something we shouldn't have heard, in which case don't switch your microphone on. Ravindra on 38. 131 for 2, 1 ball left to the 12th over. 43 from 49. Was it something you should have broadcast?
Dylan Haliger wants this over to continue because he wants you to stick around, Kevin.
Oh, I see. Yeah, big fan. Oh, I get that. Ravindra on 38. That's a shorter ball, which is pulled away through mid-wicket. And a single. 132 for 2 of 12 overs. 42 from 48 balls. Ravindra's on 39, Phillips on 56. New Zealand powering their way through to the Super 8s here against Canada. Peter and Scott.
Yes, with this so far unbeaten century partnership between Ravindra and Phillips, 102 runs they've put on together for this third wicket. 30 for 2. I mean, it wasn't a wobble at 30 for 2, but there was a sense potentially that maybe we could have something that might be quite awkward for New Zealand, and who knows what that then could develop into. But the fear, obviously, when you're playing against such quality opposition, is that this can happen. And these two have kind of killed all the hope for Canada.
Well, and the captain bowling that no ball.
Not a fan of that, were you? Not a fan of him bowling full stop, I don't think, were you? As Zappa's in, that's swept away by Ravindra out towards the leg side for a single.
But it was just so ridiculous. The lack of focus and lapses in concentration. We've seen that in other areas in this Canada fielding innings, but that was the best embodiment of that.
Zappa balls again. From around the wicket to Phillips. Drives it firmly down the ground. Fielder off his own bowling. There's no run. Gets a round of applause, actually, from Phillips for his good work. And that was hit pretty firmly back towards him.
You've just taken 2 wickets. You bring yourself on as a spinner. And your first ball, you overstep, and by some distance, too.
Balls in the air. Slog sweep by Phillips. And in the air, and over the rope, and over the advertising board. And it's gone for 6. He moves to 62. Not out, and the score to 139 for 2, within 35 runs of victory now.
You know what Canada needed? They needed this ground staff member to come field for them. What a catch he took over at what should be cover, but because of the switch hit by Glenn Phillips, winds up looking more like mid-wicket.
With plenty of bottom hand, it forces this one away through the leg side for 2, actually. Comes back for a second, so Phillips moves to 64 not out. 141 for 2.
It's gorgeous, premeditated, and Saad bin Zafar didn't really adjust well as the bowler. Phillips got into position extremely early for that switch hit and just crushed it over that cover boundary that turns into mid-wicket when he switches.
Swept away behind square on the leg side. Jogs through for a single. Leg side. He's on to 64. 5 not out. Back for a second. New Zealand now 142 for 2. 1 ball remaining of the 13th over. 32 required. 43 balls left.
Well, now we got a different replaying. I gave him too much credit.
Swept by Ravindra this time. Out towards that ground staff member. Over his head, but into the crowd. It's gone for 6, and Rachin Ravindra brings up his half century. No, goes from 40 to 46 with that 6. It's the end of the over, and New Zealand now 148 for 2, requiring 26 to win from 42 balls.
Orthodox sweep, orthodox mid-wicket. Boundary on that side of the ground as Ravindra sends it into the 10th row, and the 2 fans fighting for it. I always get a bit nervous when I see fans fighting for it because I'm thinking, ooh, that's a good way to wind up in the hospital, Scott.
Yeah.
Rather than just one person kind of stepping aside graciously and saying, no, this is your moment of Instagram fame. Here's your chance to have your phone blow up with all your friends seeing you take a catch. No, they both want to go for it. And in the process of doing that, I'm always wondering, ooh, this is how you go to visit the dentist or the rhinoplasty surgeon.
Yes, it could all unfold pretty quickly in those situations, can't it? That's carved away by Phillips. Good stop inside the circle at cover as Herlinger comes in for his 4th and final over of the day. 148 for 2 in the 14th over.
The thing that scares me most if I'm watching a game as a fan, Scott, is not a ball coming my way in the crowd and me worrying, am I going to catch it or not? It's some bozo who's going to jump in front of me and knock me out of the way.
Full and straight by Herlinger and driven full and straight by Phillips. Hit firmly down the ground for 4 more. Brings up the 150 for New Zealand. Glenn Phillips moves on to 66. Not out. 153 for 2. Sorry, moves on to 70 with that. 70 from 32 deliveries. It's 22 required. They're getting the job done pretty quickly here. That's down the leg side from Dylan Haylinger and called away by the umpire. 153 for 2 in the 14th over. Glenn Phillips, who's working up a bit of a sweat here. I don't think he's looking massively comfortable. It looks like he's been a little bit, at times, struggling with the heat. Shaking his head, actually, as he taps the bat a couple of times and waits for Haylinger, who comes in and bowls and swings away again, does Phillips. Thick under edge of the bat. And squirts away to the leg side for a single. Score is on to 154 for 2. We're in the 14th over. New Zealand are almost there. And with it, a place secured in the Super 8s. Ravindra on strike, heading in and bowls. Tries to whip that away off his hip. He just deflects in the end. A couple of metres away towards the square leg umpire. And there's no addition to the score.
I guess Rashid Khan won't have to worry about pursuing that maple syrup sponsorship endorsement after all. This is looking very comfortable for New Zealand.
Yeah.
And yet, it can't take the shine away from Yuvraj Samra, that first innings century.
Yeah, I mean, that will be I'm sure it should be the kind of the highlight of the game, shouldn't it? New Zealand will win, but that shouldn't be a huge surprise. The century from Shamra was absolutely terrific.
Does he get player of the match for it on a losing side?
The thought crossed my mind, Kevin, yes. I'll be very curious. I would give it to Phillips, what he's doing here.
154 for 2. Haylinger balls to Ravindra. Punches down the ground through mid-off for a single.
In some ways, I feel like the way that New Zealand is going about this, I always feel like under every circumstance you should be rewarding the winning team. And in this case, the way that New Zealand is going about this, the way that Phillips is going about this, I almost feel like, in some sense, giving Samra the player of the match, as much as I would love to see him get it, it would almost be patronizing in a way.
If I was Glenn Phillips, I'd just go and present it to Samra and say, you deserve it.
That's the sort of guy you are, though, Scott. Not everybody's like you.
Pulled away by Phillips. And pulled out towards mid-wicket and pulled for 4. 2 fielders on the leg side boundary, and he's managed to find a gap between them both superbly to end the 14th over. Phillips moves to 74. He's got an issue with his helmet. It's 159 for 2. New Zealand require 15 more runs to win. They've got 36 balls to do it.
If they had gone about this chase and say Finn Allen made 40 and Ravindra made 40-odd and Phillips made 40-odd, then I would say Samra, you'd want to give him the player of the match award in a losing cause because he was by far and away the standout performer. But Phillips bulldozing his way through this chase, I think, in all honesty, it would be.
I think you're right. I think it'd be patronising.
Yeah.
I really do. However, I don't mind patronising people, so I give it to.
Hey, and it would be for Canada again.
For the story, for all the backstory to it, for everything about it.
Yeah, 100%. It's a historic day again. First associate century in a T20 World Cup, and only the second century by a Canadian in any form of World Cup. So, a silver lining for Canada to take home from today.
Without doubt, yeah. And this especially for Yuvraj Samra. It'll be a day he won't forget. It could well be a day you look back on as being a bit of a career-defining one, couldn't it? Because you put a performance in like that at a world stage like this, then you attract a lot of attention.
Well, 100%. It's not just what he's doing for Canada here, but you get this kind of platform in front of a global audience, what this could open up for him in terms of franchise opportunities.
Absolutely, yeah.
The fact that, I don't know, I wouldn't expect IPL suitors to come knocking, but it's very possible for him this coming summer. Major League Cricket, Caribbean Premier League, you look further to, you know, if injuries happen, the PSL auction has already happened. Timing is everything. You know, Dipender Singh Irie got a contract and got picked up by Islamabad United in the PSL auction. And one of the significant contributors was it came just 2 days after he played an excellent knock against England. So everybody saw that. It's fresh in their minds. Yuvraj Samra, unfortunately for his timing, his knock has happened several days after the PSL auction. But you put in performance like this, there's still potentially the possibility injury replacements. If somebody gets injured, he does this performance. Now he's fresh in their minds. If something happens and a spot opens up after the initial rosters have been settled in some of these franchise leagues, they could say, hey, that Yuvraj Samra kid from Canada, we need a left-hander, we need a power hitter. There's a slot that's open up because of injury replacement, or if somebody goes on paternity leave, like we've seen with Lockie Ferguson, there's all sorts of reasons that could open up a spot.
Here's Ravindra on strike. He's 3 away from 50, and his slog sweeps this delivery out towards deep mid-wicket and all the way for 6 to bring up a half-century in emphatic style. We've seen that a few times today. Big hits to reach landmarks. Well, 53 to Ravindra from 35 deliveries, and it takes it into single figures required to win now for New Zealand. They need 9 more, 165 for 2, and Ravindra's 53 not out.
We've talked about so many extraordinary things today in the context of this chase. There was a wicket made at one point, Scott.
There was, yeah. Cut away by Ravindra out towards the offside for 1. Takes him to 54 not out, 166 for 2. And then bizarrely, he didn't bowl.
Take it straight off after wicket made.
Took straight off.
For a captain who overstepped by a good 3 inches to bowl a no ball on the first ball of the over.
Didn't seem very clear thinking that, but who am I to question it? But it was a bit of an wicket maiden. Off you go. Phillips is back on strike. Went off the back foot and punches it down the ground for 1 run, so he moves to 75 not out. New Zealand 167 for 2, and moments away from securing officially their place in the Super 8s.
Speaking of the captain,
as Ravindra waits, that's nudged away to mid-wicket for a single.
This is the kind of situation, Scott, where I would prefer to see the captain bring himself on to bowl. Have the indignity of conceding the losing runs. Why is he giving this over to Shivam Sharma? Come on, Dilpreet Bajwa, bring yourself back on now.
Phillips on 75. Reverse hit again, dragged out towards the leg side, not with quite as much efficiency as the previous switch hit, but gets a single this time. Takes him to 76. There's 1 ball left. There's 1 hit away. They need 5 to win. Odison Ravindra reaches 50 with the 6 in this over. Will he finish the over and win the game? Nope. It's a defender back towards Shivam Sharma. End of the over. In theory, 5 to go. I suspect we're at the final over mark, in truth, with just 5 more runs required for New Zealand. 169 for 2 for the Kiwis against Canada.
It's been phenomenal batting, really, hasn't it? This reply from New Zealand.
Well, what was going through my mind in the first innings, simultaneously as Yuvraj Samra was scoring a century, was and especially that opening partnership, they weren't taking any wickets, New Zealand, and I was thinking to myself, wow, if the New Zealand bowlers aren't taking any wickets, God help the Canada bowlers when they have to try and defend this.
Yeah, that was always there in the back of the mind, wasn't it? You know, as you say, if Canada can do it, what can New Zealand do? I was, you know, just in terms of wanting a bit of a shock, wanting a bit of a turnaround. Nothing personal against New Zealand. I was thinking maybe a bit of a chaotic run out, or a stunning catch or something like that. And they looked a bit under the weather, some of them as well.
They did, yeah. Looked a bit peaky, some of them.
But just generally speaking, there was always that element of, I'm sure New Zealand, they're going to be able to do a little bit better.
Phillips on strike. This is speared away down the leg side. Called a wide by the umpire, and they've run through as well.
Unfortunately, instead of that chaotic run out, we got to see 5 overthrows from Canada.
Yeah, that was the first over, wasn't it, of the reply? It wasn't a brilliant start. Jasker and Singh, who bowled that first over, is into bowl what could looks almost certainly to be the final over of the match as well, with 3 required now to win.
And the no ball. I forgot the no ball part of it. It was 5 overthrows and a no ball of the same delivery.
Yeah, not the ideal start to the defence for Canada. Ravindra 55 not out, 171 for 2. Again down the leg side, and another wide called by the umpire. Don't do it in wides.
I was going to say maybe he wants to send a message to the captain. I didn't want to bowl this over, so I'm not going to actually have statistical credit for having bowled another over here. My stats will end on 2 overs, and we'll just get New Zealand over the line in wides.
Yeah, well, one more wide. Yeah, 172 for 2. In comes Jaskran Singh, bowls, muscled out towards the leg side. That'll be 4, and that will win it for New Zealand. And in the end, a pretty effective and efficient job done with the bat. Rachin Ravindra pulling that delivery for 4 to finish unbeaten on 59. Glenn Phillips on 76 at the non-strikers end. So they've got to their victory target, New Zealand, with just 2 wickets down. So they win it by 8 wickets with 29 balls remaining, and it is a pretty comfortable win, even though at the halfway stage during the course of that Canada innings there was times when New Zealand were looking a little rattled, but they've got the job done, and they've booked their place in the Super 8s, and with it they've officially eliminated Canada as well.
And Afghanistan and